the dark fleet that was out in our galaxy was not allowed back in our solar system. And so the dark fleet that was in our solar system was arrested by the Positive Secret Space Program and, of course, the Galactic Alliance. But apparently, according to this briefing that I got today, we were still, as in us as the Alliance, we were still fighting and warring with the Dark Fleet, and happening from the point of being outside of our solar system. Apparently, the Dark Fleet that had established secret colonies outside of our solar system was still influencing the deep state, as they are completely aligned with negative AI. And so, we're going to go into that a little bit. We're also going to go into the ending of the Russian-Ukraine war in favor of Russia, of course, which will be the end of NATO and the globalist agencies and European Union as we know it. So the alliance is currently working with that, with the ending in the war in Europe in favor of Russia. And so there's also another thing that they wanted me to share regarding what was underneath Washington as it connected to different Luciferian ley lines. And this is the main reason why the Y Hats are now building a ballroom, because all of the actions actually has been taking place in the dismantling and neutralization of an old grid that was established through geometry, inverted geometry, by witchcraft, sorcery. In other words, the Masons that were corrupt by the Bavarian Illuminati had created an underground ley line system that was designed to harness and create inverted timelines. So they also want me to explain what's been going on with those underground ley lines. So we're going to go deep today, guys. For those that don't know me, my name is Ismael Perez. I'm the author of those two amazing books behind me, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, and, of course, Our Cosmic Origin, which is my groundbreaking work, my contribution to humanity, restoring galactic history. And, of course, for those that have read The Secret Government, that is the real history, the real war between the Alliance and the Cabal going back to thousands of years. So, yeah, the Alliance has been around for a long time. And they are known as the Earth Alliance, by the way, right? There is no TLS light system. Okay, that was a PSYOP. The real organization of the light, the forces of good that have been fighting the Cabal for thousands of years, has always been known as the Great White Brotherhood. So we could say that today's alliance are an extension of what was the positive secret societies of old. Of course, the last one being the Knights Templars, before they were, of course, dismantled and some of them infiltrated by the Bavarian Illuminati. All right, so two quick announcements. I still have room left for my upcoming courses. They start on the 6th or 7th of June, so it's not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, 2 weekends from now. So for those that would love to interact with me on a live webinar, it is very interactive. And again, one of my highlights of doing these courses is getting to meet a lot of the new people. And to me, that is everything, guys. On top of course, teaching you guys about ascension, about the cosmic infrastructure. But when I get to know you, that is really my highlight. And so if you guys are interested in taking my courses, which are very inexpensive, they're only $100 a piece, either on a Saturday or Sunday. I always put the link at the end of the live and the comments, and then of course you could access it through the description as well, through our cosmicorigin.com, which is my only website. Okay. All right. So one final thing. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, but I strongly believe in the detox protocol. So right now, knowing that there's a high demand for this product, guys, Father's Day is just around the corner. So what best gift to give your father, which is the gift of health, right? So that There you go. So if you guys are interested in detoxing your body from not only metals, nanoparticulates, but also from radiation, from all of the negative frequencies that they're trying to bombard us with, right? Then I would order some Folium. So the link is always in the description, and I always also pin it at the end of the live. All right. So with that having been said, now I'm going to start the presentation. And I kind of just want to give you guys a little background on what the Dark Fleet is, which is really the off-world negative program that has been controlling the deep state ever since they succeeded in the infiltration of the American government through the Operation Paperclip with Werner von Braun, and of course the development of three-letter agencies. They were all developed by what we call now the neocons. The neocons are what we would consider as modern day Nazis, but now they're global Nazis working as a shadow government, only answering to, of course, their off-world breakaway group known as the Dark Fleet. So again, back in 2016, there was a massive barrier that was placed around our solar system that was preventing members of the Dark Fleet or their spacecraft to come back in. And then, of course, those that were in our solar system were arrested. Some, of course, went into hiding, but over the years we found them. So ever since then, it turns out that this negative AI that I've been talking about has continuously worked with the Dark Fleet that is operating outside of our solar systems, perhaps in other star systems within the Milky Way galaxy, and through those star systems. And of course, their advanced AI technologies, they have actually been manipulating things here on the planet for quite some time. And yes, they have been working with the Animus, the Tordians, and of course the Verdants, which are the different types of AIs, negative AIs that have been trying to control our planet for quite some time. So this is called Operation Veil Breaker, and the source is coming from the Earth Alliance regarding the multidimensional coordinating command clearance level Celestial-12. So according to this classified report, the Earth Alliance believes that the visible political conflicts that are now unfolding across the planet are actually representing only the outer layer of a much larger war. A war that has been multidimensional in nature, taking place across not only the physical plane of existence, across energy fields, non-physical planes, cyberspace. It's also been a cybernetic warfare, and of course, quantum domains as well. Okay, so this war is taking place on every level of reality, including the quantum field. Okay, now behind governments and corporations, the intelligence agencies and financial institutions, according to the alliance, they have uncovered what internal documents refer to as the shadow layer. That's what they call it, the shadow layer. And so the shadow layer is a covert command structure influenced by remnants of the Dark Fleet, which have been operating outside of our solar system. And of course, through AI, super AI technology, they have been communicating with the inorganic replacements of what we call the deep state. And for those that are unfamiliar with the Dark Fleet goes back to the late 30s to be exact. It was formulated and developed by the Nazis as they aligned with the negative extraterrestrial faction. So it is a negative breakaway group. In fact, it was the first negative breakaway group, establishing a network that was operating with advanced off-world technologies and, of course, black budget aerospace systems. And it is believed that ever since the Nazis infiltrated the U.S. government through Truman, not Eisenhower, let's just be real here, they have been in control of every three-letter agency, every think tank, educational system, of course, the medical industry. It was all designed by them. Okay, so this is what we're fighting now, the neocons, right? The new Nazis, which is what we call the deep state when you really think about it. So this negative breakaway group, has always been working with advanced negative AI. In fact, their God they answer to is an AI. Okay, so they have implemented AI integrated weaponry and hidden underground infrastructures since the 1940s, beyond conventional governmental oversight. So, according to Alliance Intelligence, they believe that this network embedded itself within the deepest layers of the global system over decades. Again, this group pretty much secretly won the war. So technically, Hitler didn't lose the war. Okay, it was just what they did is they just reorganized as the Dark Fleet. So they go back decades, and they have created what became known internally as the one second here, as the deep state grid, which explains the ley lines that had been established underneath Washington, the state capital, and I'll explain how all of that relates. So, this has been an interconnected control matrix that has been established since they infiltrated our government, pretty much. They created underground facilities, or they also created orbital surveillance platforms. So, a lot of these deep staters have been using, of course, the technology provided to them by the Dark Fleet. Of course, they were also working with quantum communication systems as far back as the 1940s and 1950s. So we could even state that even organizations like DARPA were, of course, started by the neocons, right? So, and they also worked with psychological operation networks, and that's what led to the CIA mind control, Project Monarch, MK Ultra, so on and so forth. So all of that, guys, all of that we could trace back to the Dark Fleet. And of course, not to mention artificial intelligence infrastructures and frequency manipulation technologies. So HARP, everything that they've been hitting us hard with for the last few decades, it was all given to us by the members of the Dark Fleet. Not given to us, but given to the deep state. So the objective of the Alliance in terms of fighting the war against their real enemy. Again, the shadow government, which is what we call the globalist deep state on planet Earth, are just a layer, and they have been puppet string since the 1950s by the Dark Fleet. Okay, so that's who we're really fighting the war against. It's the Dark Fleet, and so the objective for the Alliance was never simply to expose the corruption, but to dismantle it. Okay, layer by layer. So we could say that the war is really against the Dark Fleet at the highest level of reality. And then, of course, the Dark Fleet works with the negative groups, the negative ETs like the Dracos, the Naboo, the Zetas, some of the insectoids, and, of course, AI. And they do answer to an AI overlord. And for those that have been following me for quite some time, we know that to be Omega Metatron. So the war against the Dark Fleet. Now, recovered briefing files also suggest that the Earth Alliance has spent years conducting covert operations against this hidden Dark Fleet. They have been dismantling their installations that have been operating beneath mountains, that have been operating also beneath deserts, explaining Area 51. Oceans, apparently the Dark Fleet had secret colonies within the ocean. And so thanks to Solar Warden and the Positive Secret Space Program, which is now merging with Space Force, we have been able to also discover some of their secret colonies within the oceans and in the polar regions. Okay, so this war has been going on since the 50s against the Dark Fleet. And so many of these facilities were actually designed as what they called self-contained AI command environments that were connected through some sort of a quantum entangled communication system, inaccessible to conventional military technology until now, of course. So it turns out that this quantum entangled communication system is what is allowing members of the Dark Fleet that are in other solar systems or in other parts of our galaxy, still, of course, hiding, okay, because In the last few months, they lost the war in the galaxy, and many of them were being hunted by super soldiers, members of the Galactic Alliance. So for those that were able to hide in different solar systems, they have been communicating through this quantum entangled communication system. And that's how they're able to communicate, of course, from solar system through solar system. Okay. Now, Alliance insiders have described these systems as capable of coordinating surveillance, protective behavior, algorithms as well, and of course, psychological. They have been used for psychological destabilization. So they operate according to some non-local control node, right? And so they have been using frequency interference operations in the 1950s, as well as psychological destabilization campaigns on a planetary scale. So in order to counter this threat, Alliance forces deployed highly advanced classified technologies derived from recovered extraterrestrial engineered programs, and of course, technology that they inherited from the Galactic Alliance. Okay, because again, guys, the Galactic Alliance, who was known as the Federation of Worlds since 2022, now they're the Galactic Alliance. They have been fighting this war against the dark ET factions for millions of years. Okay, so now we're like approaching the finality of this conflict that's been going on in our galaxy and in our universe for millions of years. So, some of these operations that the Earth Alliance used were scalar disruption fields, as well as quantum resonance pulse systems and electromagnetic phase destabilizers, and as well as consciousness linked navigation platforms, 0-point energy tactical systems, and temporal, which means, of course, dealing with time travel, right? Synchronization technologies. Okay. Now, according to the briefing, conventional military forces alone were apparently insufficient when it came to fighting this war against the Dark Fleet, because the war itself was a multi-dimensional battle. Okay. Now, the multi-dimensional alliance, you guys have to understand that even the alliance is multi-dimensional. Okay, there are different levels of the alliance. At the highest level of the alliance, you have what is known as the 12 generals. Right above them, you have 24 admirals, which are the personnel or the planetary delegates in charge of Solar Warden. And it is believed that these 24 admirals do have abilities. Okay, they're not like your typical people. So we could say that at the highest level of the alliance, there is a group of humans or people that are enhanced. Okay, they have these abilities. So, and altogether, of course, the Alliance and the Y Hats and the Galactic Alliance have been assisted by this multidimensional intelligence that, of course, we call the Galactic Alliance. And the reason being is because we have one thing in common, and that is the collapsing of the artificial timeline control system, which is what the Dark Fleet and the negative factions have been working to implement. So these beings are apparently not operating through traditional physical intervention, okay, but through energetic stabilization, consciousness amplification, and timeline harmonization. I'm referring to the Earth Alliance. Now, Alliance sources have claimed that their role in the war against the Dark Fleet included the shielding strategic Earth Alliance operations from detection, assisting in the collapsing of destructive probability timelines, which were, of course, undone after the Dark Fleet was influencing and controlling the scientists at CERN, right, who wanted to destroy the sacred positive timeline and replace it by only negative outcomes. So all of that needed to be undone by the Earth Alliance. And last but not least, also they were tasked with the stabilization of the Earth's magnetic and energetic grids. If it was left to the Dark Fleet, their plan was to create what is known as a geophysical pole shift, which would have resulted in catastrophe. And so the Alliance and, of course, their interdimensional allies were able to also prevent that from happening. And another thing that they were able to do, guys, is they were able to prevent large-scale timeline divergent events by protecting the awakened portions of the populations from mass frequency manipulation. And this is, to give you guys an example, when they rolled out what they did in 2020, 2019, you guys know what I'm talking about. If it wasn't for the Alliance, that was going to go sour, okay? They were literally planning on activating the graphene oxide in people that, to, of course, usher in what they would have called a zombie apocalypse. And all of that was undone thanks to the Alliance and the Galactics. So the Alliance has always known that the battle for the Earth was never or only fought with weapons, okay? They know that the battle for the Earth was always about consciousness. It was about resonance. And, of course, the architecture of reality itself. Now, according to this report, the deep state's greatest weapon wasn't military might either, guys, okay? It was timeline control, okay? And that explains the temporal timeline wars. So, Alliance temporal analyst, temporal involving the battle within the timeline aspect of the war, have discovered that many global crises were engineered not just for political gain, but to anchor humanity into this low frequency future outcome produced by mass fear, division, dependency, and synthetic AI integration. Now, internal documents have referred to these engineered futures as as probability pathways sustained realities where humanity surrendered its sovereignty completely, where AI governed civilizations, and of course, where permanent surveillance systems eventually emerged, where consciousness became disconnected from higher awareness, and where endless conflict justified centralized planetary control. So the Alliance response reportedly involved the deployment of multi-dimensional timeline correction operations that began with Nikola Tesla. Now, according to this briefing, guys, higher dimensional allied intelligences assisted us by weakening the unstable timeline branches that were being, of course, inserted by the CERN project, the Large Hadron Collider. And they also began to collapse probability structures. We're talking about the good guys here, that tied to authoritarian outcomes. They also were able to amplify collective awakening events, leading to the Great Awakening, and of course, increasing synchronicities and disclosure momentum. And last but not least, they were able to bring the timelines aligned with human sovereignty and organic evolution. So every time the dark ones implemented a negative outcome or a probability of negative outcomes, the good guys, and a lot of this has to do with Tesla too, Nikola Tesla, right? Who was the first to perfect time travel. They actually had to correct every timeline and revert it back to the positive organic timeline. Okay. And that explains why today is the 25th of May. And for those of you that want to see my clock is still there. There it is. Today's the 25th of May. I guess I could go this way. And we're still on a positive timeline trajectory, guys. Right? We're still on a positive timeline trajectory thanks to the collaborated efforts of all the forces of light operating on every level of reality. All right, furthermore, let's continue. Alliance scientists also observed measurable anomalies during major global awakening events, including Schumann resonance fluctuations, electromagnetic disturbances, increased intuitive awareness among populations, and even accelerated collapsing of institutional trust and systems. And last but not least, the sudden exposure of hidden information networks. So the report concludes that humanity is currently moving through what the Alliance calls the timeline convergence window. The timeline convergence window. Now, for those that don't know what this timeline convergence window is a period in which multiple future outcomes are competing simultaneously for manifestation. And I've talked about how eventually they have collapsed into what is known as the 6 prominent negative timelines and the 6 prominent positive timelines. Okay, but we do know that even those 12 prominent timelines collapse or trifurcate into positive, negative, technocratic, dystopia, and a neutral timeline. Now, according to the intelligence files that I was able to access, thanks to Commander Valiant Thor, one of the most intense areas of conflict involves the underground artificial intelligence strongholds that were constructed decades ago by members of the Dark Fleet and, of course, their Draco alien overlords beneath remote regions of the Earth. Now, these installations apparently housed advanced cybernetic laboratories, genetic experimentation sectors, quantum computing cores, frequency broadcasting systems, and Dark Fleet command relays. Now, Alliance strike teams supported by multidimensional shielding technologies have reportedly been conducting ongoing operations since 2016 to neutralize these facilities without triggering planetary destabilization. Now, the briefing claims that some of these underground systems were faced partially outside normal space-time. So what that means is that some of them were actually part of what is known as pocket realities. I believe that I did explain what pocket realities are, right? These are undetectable realities that you could only enter through a portal, and then of course the portal seals, very similar to Doctor Strange, right? When he opens up the portal, you enter the portal and then you seal it, and then you are in the pocket reality, but in a different dimension. So it's occupying the same space as the 3D, but it is in a different reality where we can't see it. So that's what a pocket reality is. Okay. Now, so going back to this report, the briefings claim that some of the underground systems were faced partially outside of normal space-time because of the pocket realities, and that actually required some sort of specialized interdimensional tactics conducted by the Ormas in order to penetrate those pocket realities. Okay, and this is the reason why we are winning the war against, technically, this is the war against the Dark Fleet. Okay, the deep state is just their planetary layer, whereas the Dark Fleet has gone multidimensional through AI, not naturally, through AI, and have been operating throughout the galaxy up until, of course, 2018, 2024, when we began arresting them, as in us, the super soldiers, okay? And there were some survivors, and again, according to this report, those surviving remnant Dark Fleet that have been operating outside of our solar system through the quantum entanglement communication device have been, of course, communicating with the deep state here on the Earth, okay? So to counter this, the Earth Alliance operatives have begun working alongside consciousness-trained specialists capable of interfacing with energetic environments beyond conventional perception. So we can now conclude that some of these programs to enhance psychic abilities and the ability to interface with, of course, energetic environments beyond conventional perception in order to locate these pocket realities were conducted by the good guys. Okay, so again, the Alliance, there are people within the alliance that were apparently enhanced, that they're beyond human, all right? They have these abilities to interface with energetic corridors that have been working for the light, okay? So the objective overall, guys, is the restoration of what they called the original, the restoration of the original sacred timeline. So there's been what they call an orbital cleanup here on the Earth and within our solar system. And so the report further reveals that portions of the Dark Fleet maintain some sort of hidden orbital infrastructure beyond publicly acknowledged satellite systems. These platforms have served as surveillance hubs for them, frequency amplification relays, artificial intelligence coordination arrays, and quantum communication beacons. Alliance aerospace divisions, working in conjunction with advanced allied technologies, reportedly initiated operations to disable or isolate many of these systems. That's a good thing. Now, several unexplained satellite malfunctions, and communication blackouts observed publicly over recent years are described internally as indirect consequences of these operations. Now, what is humanity's role in all this? Well, despite the scale of this conflict that's been going on technically between the positive secret space program, Solar Warden, and the negative secret space program, Dark Fleet, Alliance commanders have emphasized that humanity itself remains the deciding factor in all of this. And of course, this has a lot to do with how mass perception ultimately creates mass reality, right? The multidimensional allies cannot impose liberation. They believe, and I've explained this before many times, guys, they believe that humanity must choose sovereignty consciously through their own free will. So the briefing states that awakening populations generate energetic conditions that weaken artificial control systems naturally. It is believed that fear has always strengthened the matrix, right? Whereas awareness dissolves it. So the awakening of humanity in this regard is the weapon that we need. This is what the Alliance and the Galactics are waiting for, guys. Okay? The awakening of humanity, and we're almost there, as mentioned before. They have been noticing the rate of how many humans are awakening per minute, and that is 200 to 300 humans per minute per the disclosure. Per the transmission. So the awakening of humanity is the weapon. Okay? And as consciousness continues to rise, the false structure begins to dissolve. And that is just the fact. So the timeline that was built on control apparently has collapsed under their own weight. Okay. Now, Alliance analysts believe that the planet is now approaching the final stages of this hidden transition that has unfolded quietly beneath world events for decades. The dismantling of the deep state network is described not only as a single event, but as a multidimensional operation occurring across governments, financial systems, information networks, underground infrastructures, orbital domains, and of course, consciousness fields. So as the old artificial timelines are crumbling, while the sovereignty timeline is strengthening, and again, according to the briefing, humanity is beginning to remember that the greatest firewall against control has been an awakened human conscious. Okay, it was always about the awakening of humanity. That's what it boils down to, my friends. So, furthermore, they also want me to talk about Operation Quantum Firewall. Okay, this is coming from classification Earth Alliance Command. Source, Space Force Strategic Operation Division. Clearance level, Cosmic-7. All right. Well, We know, or at least a lot of us know, that for over 2 centuries, Washington, D.C. functioned as more than just a political capital of the United States. According to recovered Alliance archive data that was preserved by the Positive Secret Societies, the city itself was engineered as a massive energetic control grid. This is what they called a geometric lattice designed to manipulate consciousness through architecture, symbolism, electromagnetic resonance, and of course, ritual synchronization. Now, at the center of the system is, of course, the White House complex. So, what the public believed to be a ballroom expansion project is, according to classified Alliance sources, the largest covert geomagnetic restructuring operation ever conducted beneath the executive branch. You know, for decades, the Alliance analysts have identified an underground energetic nexus running beneath the southern axis of the White House grounds, a buried frequency corridor that was linked to an ancient pentagram network embedded throughout the original DC street layouts. I don't know if you guys ever seen that picture of the inverted pentagram, right, connecting the White House to the state capitol. Well, that was there by design, okay? This network apparently connected key sites, including the Capitol, the Washington Monument, underground Masonic chambers, and hidden ritual vaults extending beyond federal infrastructure or beneath federal infrastructure. Internal Space Force documents refer to this system as the Saturnian lattice, of course, because we know that this deep state cabal, right, controlled by the Dark Fleet, are all part of the cult of Saturn, right? So that's what they called it, the Saturnian lattice, which is a harmonic control field calibrated to suppress higher consciousness and stabilize fear-based collective programming. Now, according to this briefing, the lattice operated through 3 primary mechanisms. The first one was a geometric resonance. The second one was an electromagnetic amplification. And the third one was a ritualized human emotional discharge. Well, that explains all of the, nefarious operations that were going on with the little ones, okay? So the system apparently fed off large-scale emotional trauma, conflict cycles, and mass psychological manipulation for decades until now, because the Alliance is now completely destroying that, okay? Alliance historians have traced portions of its design back to secret European occult societies that are originated with the order of they call the Orientis branch, which was led by Aleister Crowley, okay? And that influenced the early construction of Washington, D.C. in the late 1700s. But everything changed when construction began beneath the White House. Now, this is why the White Hats are building the ballroom project, okay? It's technically, covertly, an attempt to undo all of that inverted ley lines that had been used by the dark forces to conduct, of course, all of the rituals and to suppress mass consciousness. So officially, the structure was described as a ceremonial ballroom expansion. All right, so on the surface, we call it the ballroom, okay? Unofficially, though, according to the Alliance engineers, they have called this the breaker node, okay? And this is what that means. The foundation was built using classified Tesla-derived technology recovered from long-sealed military archives that were linked to the research connected to Nikola Tesla. Do you guys see how it all connects to Nikola Tesla? So the breaker node, right, which is the Alliance or the White Hats operation in undoing what's underneath Washington and those negative ley lines, is connected to the technology that of course, was developed by Nikola Tesla. Okay, so military contractors operating under Space Force oversight embedded to the structure with what they call metal shielding arrays, as well as scalar wave dampening coils, quantum resonance stabilizers, zero-point harmonic capacitors, and crystalline frequency conduits tuned to Earth's natural Schumann resonance. So this has been done by the White Hats within the last 6 to 7 years. And now that project has been finalized, okay? Washington, or let's just say the underground networks of Washington, are no longer working for the dark side, all right? They have been restructured and corrected by the alliance, by the White Hats. So the goal here is not to block the old field, but to override it and restructure it. And so this is what's happening beneath the ballroom, okay? Alliance operatives constructed an isolated quantum command core, disconnected from legacy banking, the Federal Reserve, and of course, all of their surveillance systems. Sources described the installation as an autonomous QFS, quantum financial system relay node, capable of functioning independently from global financial infrastructure. The moment activation began, the anomalies reportedly spread throughout the capital, that the old grid has collapsed underneath those regions. Within days of the underground systems powering online, unexplained disturbances were detected across multiple sectors of Washington, D.C. Alliance monitoring teams recorded sudden electromagnetic fluctuations beneath federal tunnels, radar interference near restricted aerospace, unusual magnetic deviations around the ellipse, and wildlife migration abnormalities. And last but not least, temporary communication blackouts inside select underground facilities. But the most alarming developments came from within the hidden societies themselves. Now, according to this report, guys, multiple Masonic ceremonies were abruptly canceled. Several underground lodges that were connected to the Bavarian Illuminati, Skulls and Bones, Bohemian Grove, they all ceased. Okay, all of those activities ceased. And of course, the Scottish Rite facilities experienced unexplained power failures. Restricted access corridors beneath Pentagon sectors were reportedly sealed. One classified source stated that the current stopped flowing and the old harmonic channels were all of a sudden silent. Now, even the Alliance works with geometry, right? It's sacred geometry. They're called geomancers. And again, just like any other esoteric science, metallurgy, tarot reading, astrology, right? You can either use it for good or bad. Okay, so geomancy is no different. So the Alliance have their own group of geomancers that they, have apparently used with military physicists, and they all concluded that the southern energy line feeding the DC pentagram network has been severed. So what that means is, for the first time, guys, in nearly 200 years, the controlled geometry that was created by the negative secret societies has lost coherence thanks to the Alliance. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, well, what was under the White House? I will explain. It's not just a bunker either, okay? What they discovered under the White House, according to recovered intelligence, that beneath the portion of the White House complex, there existed an extensive subterranean chamber system dating back generations. Alliance excavation scans revealed that there were some ancient ceremonial halls underneath the White House, okay, that there were some copper-lined resonance tunnels, black stone altars positioned on magnetic convergence points. So apparently they were conducting some heavy-duty Luciferian satanic rituals, okay? Hidden vaults containing ritual artifacts and encrypted archival material. And they also discovered electromagnetic amplification chambers tied to obelisk transmissions grid. And when you decipher what these obelisk erect monuments were, they were symbolically representing the patriarchy rule, the male dominating hierarchy of the old guard. Okay, so according to insiders, these underground structures, they weren't just designed for secrecy. They were actually designed for frequency manipulation. The Washington Monument, long suspected by Alliance researchers to function as an energetic transmitter, served as the central obelisk amplifier for the entire DC lattice system. And once the ballroom Tesla-based counterfeit was activated, transmission readings from the obelisk reportedly flatlined for the first time in recorded monitoring history. That the signal was gone and that the grid was collapsed. Let's just call it the negative grid. So what emerged afterwards was described as a new energetic architecture. Space Force engineers realigned the White House complex with natural geomagnetic harmonics rather than artificial occult inverted geometry. And instead of amplifying the fear-based frequencies, the new field, which is powered by Tesla coils, is designed to stabilize coherence, sovereignty, and individual consciousness. Alliance insiders now refer to the renovated White House sector as the Quantum Fortress. That's what they call it now, okay? And this is a living frequency structure that is broadcasting harmonic stabilizations across the Capitol. Internal reports have claimed that this event destabilized the long-standing energetic triad between Washington, D.C., the City of London, and the Vatican. Well, for those that have been studying this information for quite some time, you guys know that the Vatican has been the religious control center of the cabal for about 1,700 years. The city of Washington was the financial center control of the cabal for about 500 years since the House of Rothschild took over. And of course, Washington, D.C. was the military arm of the cabal up until, of course, now. Okay. So for centuries, these centers have been referred to as pillars of a hidden global control system. Now, Alliance documents suggest the DC node served as the energetic keystone binding the network together. And then now that is severed, thanks to the Alliance, the synchronization field began collapsing worldwide. And that includes the network in the Vatican, explaining why the Alliance was able to seize the Vatican documents over the last few years. And then, of course, the collapsing central banking systems that began with London, okay? So the geometry failed, the negative geometry failed, and the ritual current ended as a result of this, thank God. Furthermore, according to this briefing, the psychological spell that held humanity in patterns of fear, division, and submission began to weaken as well, thanks to the Alliance. It is believed now that humanity is entering the early stages of a planetary frequency transition, unlike anything in recorded history. So what that means is that the old systems that were built on secrecy, symbolism, and energetic manipulation have been losing stability as the Earth's natural harmonic field begins to strengthen. So what does this tell you guys? That the battle was never political, right? It was always energetic. It was always about frequency, vibration. And so beneath the White House, the first strike against the old lattice has already occurred. And in turn, of course, as stated, it is disabling the London lattice as well as the Vatican lattice. Okay, because those three worked together for quite some time, for centuries. Let's just be honest. The Republic, once bounded by hidden architecture and invisible frequencies, has began reclaiming its sovereignty over the evil corporations. So the signal is now changed. The grid in Washington has been reversed for good. Okay. What that means is that the spell has broken. Okay. Now, this next briefing is coming from a file called Final Realignment, Classification, Earth Alliance Strategic Command, Clearance Level Omega-9. According to classified Earth Alliance assessment, the conflict in Ukraine was never intended to remain a regional war. Yes, I know it's been going on since 2016, but I mean, 2000, I would say 16, right? No, it's been going on since 2000, 16. It's been going on for quite some time. So behind closed doors, the alliance geopolitical strategists view the crisis as the final control fracture point needed to dismantle what they called the old Atlantic power structure that had dominated global affairs since the rise of the British imperial system. So, internal briefings describe the current phase of the conflict as the Great Realignment. So, there's been going on since the beginning stages of this war between Russia and Ukraine a covert restructuring operation designed to transition the world away from centralized unipolar control and into a new multipolar federated model. Wow, this is fascinating because I've been talking about this for years, even before the Alliance has been, of course, documenting this. Alliance intelligence sources claim the objective was not endless war, but controlled geopolitical compression. What does that mean? Well, they were forcing aging institutions like NATO, which is supposed to be the military arm of the New World Order, as well as the European Union, and the legacy banking programs into irreversible exhaustion. So that was the underlying agenda behind the Russian-Ukraine war, with, of course, Russia being alliance, Ukraine representing the old guard, imperial British rule, as they call it. So according to this report, Earth Alliance planners determined that the expansion of NATO had reached a critical threshold that threatened long-term planetary stability. So the old guard system that reached its peak during the Cold War evolved into a mechanism for financial dependency, military escalation, and centralized control under what insiders refer to as the Atlantean Imperial Network. Well, what was holding the Atlantean Imperial Network? The underground lattices that were placed there by the negative secret society connecting London, Washington, D.C., and the Vatican. That was called the Atlantean Imperial Network. All right, so the briefing states that the efforts are now underway behind the scenes to negotiate a permanent settlement in Ukraine that favors Russian territorial and strategic interest. Alliance strategists believe Russia's sovereignty, survival, and expansion are necessary to counterbalance collapsing Western power structures like the European Union, and then, of course, accelerates the dismantling of the old imperial order. So all of this is leading to what they call the rise of the Russian superstate. I've been talking about this for quite some time, guys, okay? The alliance geopolitical simulations have forecasts the emergence of a massive Eurasian federation centered around Russia within the next few years. Internal documents refer to this future bloc as the Northern Sovereign Union. This projected federation would integrate Russia, portions of Eastern Europe, select former Soviet territories, strategic Arctic infrastructures, energy corridors across Eurasia. And so alliance planners believe that this expansion will permanently halt NATO's eastward growth and collapse the remaining influence of what they describe as the British geopolitical chessboard. Now, we all know that for centuries, British imperial strategy relied on preventing Eurasian liberation. Sovereign nations, right? They wanted to do the opposite of that. They wanted to centralize and bring everything under a one world government. Well, that was their plan, and it failed, right? Rome failed. Let's just call it that. So according to Alliance insiders, that era is ending. The era of the one world government, right? The briefing claims that global power is now shifting from maritime empire towards continental super regions capable of operating independently from centralized Western financial systems, leading to the collapsing of the old Western structure. Furthermore, internal reports suggest that the European Union is entering irreversible fragmentation. We are witnessing economic instability, energy crisis, migration tension, and a growing nationalist movement reportedly accelerating the weakening of centralized Brussels authority. Alliance analysts believe that the Ukraine conflict exposed the fragility of the existing European framework and exhausted public support for this prolonged proxy war. And that's what that was. The Russian-Ukraine war was a proxy war, fought between the alliance and the cabal. Simultaneously, the influence of the old British imperial network, historically tied to banking, intelligence operations, and even colonial era geopolitical control, is diminishing at unprecedented speed. One recovered briefing report stated that the crown system depended on division, dependency, and endless conflict. The Federation era requires sovereignty, cooperation, and regional stability. Alliance officials reportedly believe that the collapsing of the old Atlantic structure, London, Vatican, Washington, D.C., will clear the path for a completely new planetary framework known as the superstates, aka the age of the federated regions. Now, according to the intelligence briefing, the world is now quietly transitioning towards the formation of massive sovereign continental superstates, replacing the old guard's single centralized world government. When these interconnected federated regions emerge, they will be operating under localized sovereignty all the way down to city councils. The reports identifies three primary, already emerging power blocks that will be the first superstates. The first one they called the North American superstate, and that project will integrate the United States, Canada, Mexico, Greenland, of course, and this block would focus on advanced aerospace development, quantum energy systems, Golden Dome initiatives, Space Force expansion, and Arctic defense corridors. The next superstate that is to emerge is the Chinese superstate. And this is a superstate that is projected expansion that is centered around China, strategic Asian trade routes, high-speed infrastructure network, an asset-backed digital economic system, which explains BRICS, and an advanced or what they call an advanced manufacturing integration. Alliance analysts believe that China's technology capabilities will become essential in building the infrastructure of the coming post-industrial era. And now the reason this superstate federated region is next to emerge after the American superstate is because the CCP, which was controlled by the globalists, has fallen. Now Xi Jinping has reorganized into the Republic of China. Okay, so the next superstate will be the Russian Eurasian superstate. Those are going to be the first three, guys. Now, the Russian Eurasian superstate will focus on energy interdependence, Arctic expansion, resource projection, military stabilization, and multipolar geopolitical balance. Now, according to this report, these regional federations will eventually cooperate through what the alliance calls the Federated Earth Accords, which is already in progress, with Russia, China, and America. Now, the Federated Earth Accords, which are, again, have been already signed when Trump met with Xi Jinping a few weeks ago, and then Xi Jinping had a meeting with Putin, right, a week later. So there's a reason why they had to meet like that, guys. This is a decentralized, the Federated Earth Accords. They are a decentralized planetary framework designed to prevent future world wars while allowing civilizations to retain cultural sovereignty. That is what the Federated Earth Accords are, all right? They are designed to prevent future world wars while allowing civilizations to retain cultural sovereignty. So a lot of this ties into the Iranian operation, which is almost over, by the way, okay? The briefing further claims that a major covert operation targeting the current Iranian leadership structure is already underway. Alliance intelligence believes that elements within Iran's ruling establishment remains aligned with destabilization networks tied to the collapsing old order. Internal sources state that precision operations are being conducted to dismantle extremist command structures, financial pipelines, and, of course, underground weapon networks that were connected to the regional escalation efforts. The report suggests that once the Iranian power structure is neutralized, the Middle East will undergo rapid geopolitical normalization. And so the alliance planners foresee an expanded peace agreements taking place in the Middle East, energy stabilization, restoration projects across that region, and most importantly, the integration into the emerging federated systems. So this is all going to be centered around what alliance insiders call the peace accords. Now, the peace accords, according to the document here, is what's going to lead to the golden age era. First, we have to have peace, right? Even the Galactic Alliance have been waiting to establish first contact until, of course, we have established world peace. So in order for us to become part of an interstellar culture, we have to have permanent peace. So at the center of this operation, of course, we have Xi Jinping, the real Donald J. Trump, who is operating from an undisclosed location, and, of course, Vladimir Putin, and the other countries that are aligned with the alliance. But they are leading the ways, the three superpowers. So the Golden Age doctrine, which will be, again, precipitated by permanent peace, beginning within the Middle East, and, of course, by ending the war with Ukraine in favor of Russia, the alliance. The objective is described as the controlled dismantling of a fallen globalist structure while simultaneously introducing a new economic sovereignty plan, QFS, BRICS, merging, restored manufacturing, peace negotiations between major powers, advanced suppressed technologies being rolled out, infrastructure renewal, and all of this leading to what? Space era expansion. So alliance analysts believe that the real Trump's role, the Trump who is in undisclosed locations, not in the White House, okay, the real Trump operates from an underground facility or through an underground facility, is overseeing the shift from the collapsing industrial age into what they call the post-disclosure civilization. And of course, this is a future defined by a multipolar cooperation, a regional sovereignty, or what they call regional sovereignty, excuse me, technological transparency, energy abundance, reduced military conflict, and most importantly, planetary stabilization. And so the final assessment is this. According to this briefing, we are witnessing the controlled dismantling of systems that have governed global power for centuries. The wars, the economic collapse, and the political upheavals are all described as, we could say, symptoms of an old geopolitical architecture that is now losing coherence. So what that means is that the age of empires is ending, or what we call the age of centralized politics. The age of sovereign federations will begin. And from behind the scenes, the Earth Alliance believe that the world is being prepared for an era of peace built upon balanced regional power and planetary cooperation. Planetary cooperation. So all of this explains how everything is interrelated. Okay? The war in Iran, the war in the underground, the dismantling and severing of the underground satanic arrays and ley lines, right? And of course, what's happening right now with Russia and Ukraine, and what's happening with China. It's all interconnected, guys. See, we're only seeing things on the surface level, when in essence, from a deeper layer, it is all part of a single operation, and that is to dismantle the old guard, the old ley lines, the old grid. You guys know what I mean. I wanted to thank Edward Wusick for his donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I am just having a difficult day here with my allergies. Please excuse me, guys. I've been having heavy allergies again. All right, so I'm having such strong allergies that I don't even know if I could take Q&A at this time. You need a tissue? No, I need to blow my nose. You need allergy medicine? I'm fine. Thank you, Susan K., for your donation as well. Appreciate that. I'll tell you guys what. I'll take Q&A for about 5-10 minutes, and then I'm going to have to go deal with these allergies. I have a medicine here. It's okay, hon. I'm only going to do 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A. I'm really struggling here. Take this. Thank you so much for the super chats, guys. I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and put on my new glasses. Please don't make fun of me, guys. I'm going to look very nerdy. But what's this? An allergy pill, huh? Here, I'm going to have to pause myself. I do need to blow my nose. I'm sorry. Yeah, when allergies hit me, it affects my eyes. It affects me here. It's just so uncomfortable. Jacob Shearer, thank you so much for your super chat. We've all lived many lifetimes. Indeed, we have. And gained many experiences, skills, and much wisdom. I agree. Thank you. Thank you for the water. All right. I wanted to thank Holy Ship with an SHIP. Thank you so much for your super chat. Jacob Shearer, thank you so much for your super chat, as well as Holy Ship. I don't know. I've had allergies my whole life. I think it's the change of weather, seasonal transitions, the pollen in the air. Who knows? But when they hit me, guys. All right, Kenneth Brown, thank you so much for your super chat. Did you ask Valiant Thor about the CCP or here in Canada that are government trained here since 2016? They are stationed here in every province. Well, it is an element of the CCP, just like an element of the CCP stole the election and installed Brandon 2020. But yeah, the main stronghold of the CCP was operating through China. Now that that's been taken out, all of the other elements of this of the Communist Party. Let's just be real here. The entire Communist manifesto, as proposed by Karl Marx, was all controlled by the Jesuits. The Jesuits, the core of the Illuminati. They've always been the mastermind of all communist manifestos. So yeah, I was told by Commander Valiant Thor that soon, very soon, the CCP that has infiltrated and controlled the Canadian government is going to be eliminated. And at that point, that's when Canada is going to merge with America as we become part of the American superstate. All right, next question. Got your books yesterday. Thank you, love, from Melbourne, Australia. Thank you. Enjoy the reading. Do you want to welcome all 2,500 people that are in the house? Thank you guys so much. Let's see. Thank you guys. I appreciate all the suggestions here for my whatever it is that I have, these allergies. No, I'm not vegan. I can't be vegan. If I become vegan, I will die. I tried the vegan diet years ago, mainly for the sake of saving the animals, but I got extremely sick. I got weak, and due to my blood type, I have to be carnivore. Greg says, carnivore has healed my whole body. Can we? Okay, this is a question from Stephanie. She says, how can we tell the difference between the Galactic Federation and the Galactic Alliance? Is the Galactic Federation or the GFL compromised on all timelines? They seem pro-agency going within. Well, first of all, you have to have discernment, right? If you feel it in your heart, if you feel a good vibe, then it's Galactic Alliance. All right. But if you feel it in the pit of your stomach, it could be agents of the corrupt Federation. Now, the Federation wasn't always corrupt. The Federation was good up until 2018, 2022, when they were infiltrated, as to why the good allies of humanity had to reorganize as the Galactic Alliance. So your question is, are they compromised on every timeline? No, not on every timeline. Good question, Stephanie. Yes, the neocons are modern day the state of Israel. Absolutely. The state of Israel is another branch of the neocons, which is what we call today modern day Nazis, globalists. Will South America also be part of the North American larger state? No. They're going to be forming their own federation. You know, guys, in my first book, the first edition of our Cosmic Origin, I reveal in detail the 22 federated regions for those that still have that original copy. Thank you so much, Sherry Cottle, for your super chat. She says, thank you for all you do. Your efforts are amazing and appreciated. Do you know if the Trump ET videos on Facebook are true and part of soft disclosure? No, that is all AI generated. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but there's a lot of Trump ET videos that are circulating and flooding online, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, where it shows Trump walking with huge, tall aliens. That is actually part of the disclosure, right? Those are AI generated videos trying to mimic the real meetings that have been going on with the real Trump and real alien members of the Galactic Alliance. So yeah, it's part of the disclosure, but those aren't the real footage. All right, they can't release the real footage yet, but they will. So that is exactly what the real Trump is doing behind closed doors. The real Trump, not the Trump in the White House, which I'm starting to think that Trump in the White House, I don't know. I'm starting to think that he's kind of, being influenced by the Dark Fleet. Who knows? I mean, how do you explain his connection with Larry Larry Fink, right? The CEO of BlackRock, and so on and so forth. So I'm starting to think that the Trump in the White House is working with the Dark Fleet. Who knows? But the real Trump is not. The real Trump is in an undisclosed underground facility, and he is working with different extraterrestrial species. Yes, there are multiple Trumps. I've already mentioned that many of times. Somebody stating that the Trump in the White House is an Orion clone. He could be. He could be. Again, the real Trump was never in the White House in the second term, only in the first term. So the difference between the Trump from 2016 to 2020 is that was the real Trump. The second Trump that came into power in 2020 was not the real Trump. The real Trump was in the White House from 2016 to 2020. Let me just specify that. Now he had to go into the underground. So the Trump in the White House is not the real Trump, okay? I just want to make that clear. Elron, thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for all you're doing, Ishmael. It is greatly appreciated. You are so welcome. Victoria, thank you so much for the super chat. Please list the new city vortices that include Sedona, Arizona, Asheville, North Carolina, and Burlington, Vermont. I believe you listed 12 or more. No, there's actually seven interplanetary cities that are going to be safe zones for humans and, of course, galactics to interact. I did that live weeks ago, guys. That's why I strongly suggest that a lot of my new subscribers take some time and just watch all my lives for the last few months. A lot of information was revealed in these lives. And I am so fortunate that the Alliance has been protecting my channel from, so thank you, Alliance. Thank you so much, Zeroth, for your super chat. What does full disclosure look like, assuming world leaders comply? Are we going to see public appearances besides videos or photos by November? That could be the case. And from what I understand is that if the world leaders comply, and I believe they will, every 2 to 3 weeks, they're going to be releasing more classified information, more footage, more documents, more aliens besides the current four known, Nordics, Greys, Insectoids, and Dracos or reptilians. So they're going to be releasing more and more documents. Pete Hegsig is in charge of that. What meditation? Yeah, we can do a meditation. Do you want to do it? Because I'm running on fumes here, babe. I'm just really tired. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do a meditation now to close today's live stream. I'm extremely tired.
Connect to your higher angels.
Thank you.
Okay, so hi everybody. I would like to just voice a nice guided meditation. If you could follow along, try to sit privately. This guided meditation will be about attuning your own spiritual consciousness to your higher self, the archangels, and your spirit guides and team. We'll also be asking for abundance and to put us on a positive timeline for changes. So let's just meditate together. It's time to disconnect from all the daily distractions. Just reflect upon this time now for your own personal growth. And we ask for bringing in the divine guidance that you need towards your personal growth at this time. We are asking for miracles. We are asking to remain positive. We're asking for new opportunities, for cash flow, for abundance, for good luck. We're asking that the angels put us on the right path and that our guardian angels are always supporting us. We ask for this time to introspect and to seek deeper our spiritual practices so that our intuition can enhance. So I'm inviting you all to connect with your higher self now. Please say, connect me to my higher self.
Connect me to my higher self.
Now let's open our third eye chakra and align us to the highest cosmic consciousness. Let's open our galactic gateway, our stellar gateway, our soul star chakra, our third eye chakra, and align to the highest light from source. Don't worry about things right now. Have more trust and know that the positive blessings and unexpected blessings are on your side and coming your way. Please trust in your gut and rely on your inner voice and instincts. Please take the time to turn off distractions where you may be leaking energy daily and practice some time in solitude to reflect on your soul's journey, to be able to find meaning in it, to see what to do next. And I wish you all success in the new direction of your life. May you all activate. May you all have the Trinity of Archangel Michael and Metatron and Raphael guiding you. And we ask for benefits along the way to being on the most positive timeline. Let us ask to meet with the angel that is closest to us now and ask everyone for a personal favor. Whatever blessing you need currently for your life, please put this into the quantum. Put your energy of whatever you feel is the most positive result for yourself or for another person. Let us all also ask for cosmic signs and signals to appear for us. This means angel numbers, and to understand the reason that we are seeing these angel numbers. We ask for positive energy, financial help, life-changing blessings, and miracles on the way. Let us now take a deep breath in and release any stressful situation. And just continue doing some deep breathing until you're satisfied that you've moved this negative energy out of your body, and try to release it through your feet. Ultimately, I want you guys to keep your eyes closed, focusing on your heart chakra now, to open your heart chakra, to being more service to others, to helping others along your way, and also take another deep breath of relief. Relief that in your life, anything you need to overcome, any suffering, any energy that's stolen from you, anything that is painful, that you will heal, that the angels are working on this, and the positive ETs are listening. So thank the angels and the benevolent beings for the help that you're going to receive in these situations, and in also showing you more signs. The time has come now to really start using your manifestation power. The closer we're getting to the 5D, this means help yourself in terms of creating what you would like to pull into your reality. If you are also troubled with being certain about what to pull into your reality, co-create with the Creator and give yourself at least 7 minutes in the morning to clear your mind and to connect to your heart center, to free up your mind from thoughts and worries, and to hear your first thought from your divine higher self and your connection. I hope that this assistance in this moment of our spiritual team being here on the other dimension and pouring out these blessings into the quantum can bring in synchronicity, rewards, magic, and spiritual enlightenment into your life. I'll be seeing you, and have a nice evening. Good night, everyone.